Yep, it says it's recording.
Okay, we're going. So
All right. Well, let me present. It's going to take me a second here to figure out which of these icons share my content, right? Here we go. Hey guys, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. It's always morning on the internet. Tony Pellegrini here. We are starting with our week 3 IELE classroom integration of educational technologies. And just wanted to reach out and say thank you so very much for the work that you've completed to this point. I've been way impressed with the attitude and with the activities that you've been involved with over these last couple of weeks. So thank you very much. I want to go to do a little bit of reality checks, taking a look at these last week's activities. I hope no dogs have been kicked or that things have gone well for you. And so what I wanted to do to kind of assess that was to do a little poll everywhere survey. So I think you're all on your computers. I'm not going to make you do it on your cell phones, but your students can use this on cell phones as well. But could you open another browser window and go to type in this address right here, pollev.com/TONYPELLE. You go there for just a minute. I'm going to give you just 15 seconds to open another browser window and go to pollev.com/Tony Pellegrini. And you will have to put your name in. You can put your name in. But Pollev is a little program application that will provide anonymous responses. And so, yes, you have to put your name in, but it is not, you're going to see here, it's not going to be shown as a teacher. So I have one question for you. As you get to that pollev.com/Tony Pellegrini, Tony Pelle, you're going to find a question here that says, I have met with my teacher and I am moving forward with my TIP project. If you've met with your teacher and you're moving forward with your TIP project, would you type something in this response? Even if you haven't, you can write no, you can write a short sentence, you can write whatever you like associated with that. But I'd like to see that, and on my screen here now as the teacher, I've met with Tony and I'm moving forward with my project. Yay! That's what I'm loving to hear. That means that we're connecting with some of the content, or we're connecting with some of the content from last week. Hopefully we'll get some more responses. You're not all reporting to me. Oh, you're not met with your teacher. If Tony's your teacher, still reach out to me and make sure. Even if Tony's not your teacher, still reach out to your teacher and try to make that connection. I have a few that I've not connected with, and that is just fine. Yes, the assignment's over, but we're going to make it happen. It has been wonderful, at least from my perspective here, to meet with you individually last week, as we had 10 or 12 or 14 of us together and trying to talk about the technology integration project. We really needed that one-on-one conversation. So those that I've met have been, it's just been very positive. And I taught this class a couple of years ago, and it didn't take the time to do these individual meetings, and it really suffered. It really suffered with that. So you can see how Poll Everywhere could work for you. I was just visiting with one of my learners just a few minutes ago, and she was looking for a formative assessment tool that she could use with her students to be able to understand what they knew about a particular topic, so she could design and develop instruction within her class. They all have cell phones. Instead of going to your computer, they'd go to their cell phones. They'd text Tony Pelle to 37607, and then they'd use their phones to answer the teacher's question. So let me come back to our reality check. You've taken a look at our technology integration project conversations that we've had this last week, or not, and you're going to reach out to your instructor and make sure that those happen this next week, I hope. And I also wanted to talk for just a moment about our portfolio that was due this last week, portfolio for peer review. So it is not due till week 12, but let me just go into our assignments just really quick. And within the assignments, In week 12, we have an online portfolio that's due week 12. But down here, in week 8, we're going to have a weekly activity or assignment, which is a peer review of that final online portfolio project. And so what I need you to do is I need you to create with what you did this last week in our, I apologize, it's in just a second here. The online portfolio establishment, you created a skeleton of your online portfolio. And if you'll go into the week 8 assessment, the peer review of that online portfolio, you're going to find a peer review of final project list. And by week 8, I want you to review a peer's portfolio. So you're going to have to start putting some things into it over the next 6 weeks. If you click on this link, you'll find a little document that you will be able to put a link to your particular project so your peers can reach out to you and provide you some feedback. You only need to do one peer review. Don't worry about this second one over here, and I'll take that off later tonight, give you a little bit more room over here to add. But Colleen and Lynn and Susan and Tara, they've been brave enough to add their skeletons of their final portfolio project. And give me just a second. I just have to, I'm sorry, turn this off. But I'd like you to put your skeletons on there too, a link to those skeletons on there as well. This is shared with you, so anyone can add to this, and so you should be able to put on that and add to that. So let me go back to our reality check. We've talked about last week's technology integration project activities that we did and the portfolio for peer review that we did. I just wanted to share what's passed as prologue for what we've got today. Want to visit with you for a few minutes here about this week's activities. We've got a couple of activities, a digital citizenship presentation and a classroom management poster. I've provided some samples here for you of some what I think are good digital citizenship posters. You can go out there and create something that works for you. This I felt was a good connection with a middle school attitude and approach. A lot of our middle schoolers will have cell phones, will want to take selfies or take pictures of what's going on around them in the middle school. And I thought this was a great way to be able to have some conversation with your learners, your students, about working with photos. And just go through this chart. Is it a good photo? Yes, then we can move forward. If it's not, you need to be proud of the photos that you share with others and show people in their best of times. And so anyway, find something, create something that will work for you in your classroom as your learners, whether they're elementary or secondary or middle school students, that will help them to conceptualize, hey, these are some good rules of thumb for me to use as I move forward with my the technologies that I use or I integrate. The next activity is to create a classroom management poster as well. And I've provided a couple of samples here that I thought were particularly good samples that you could use in your classroom. To give you an idea of where I could get started. What are some of the rules that I have, classroom management rules that I have in my classroom? I thought this was particularly good. I hear somebody out there. Do you have a question, a concern? Hearing none, I'll move forward. But just this acronym of THINK, as you start to look at applications, Facebook or texting or Twitter or blogging, think: is this true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Necessary? Is it kind? These are great approaches to use with our young and with our old people as well too, as far as communicating and engaging with others in an online fashion. So for this week's activities, a couple of activities: that digital citizenship presentation, that classroom management poster, and again within our assignments, well, and I'm going to pull out of assignments and come into to the syllabus, because I really like that so much better. Next Wednesday, January 30th, you're going to be the digital citizenship presentation, the classroom management posters are going to be due. We're also going to have a discussion on the foundations of effective technology integration. And I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and visit with you, provide you some support in regards to those as well. I'd like you to talk about, what are some foundations of effective technology integration. The Robler text, it's pretty expensive, and so it wasn't a required text for this, but I do have PowerPoint slides for that, and I provided those here for Chapter 2, the Foundations for Effective Technology Integration. And one of the parts that I like the best about this, and I'm not going to go through them all right here, but I think the author did a great job here bringing forward some behavioral theorists. This is Robert Gagne and some of the important works that he contributed to the theories of integrating instruction within our classroom. I wanted to just share that with you as a sample. It's not a link that I'd encourage you maybe to spend a lot of time on, but these other ones I really would encourage you to take a look at. When we talk about integrating technology within our instruction, there really is kind of two sides of the coin. There's direct instruction, which I'm doing to you right now. I'm just telling you Tony's perspective and directing my view of technology on you. And then there's a constructivist model. You're out there, and that's why it really was a wonderful opportunity this last week to have so many conversations with my learners this last week on an individual basis, on a one-on-one basis, because I'd start every conversation with, what technologies do you want to integrate within your classroom? How are you going to construct that or put that together? And so I thought this was a particularly well-developed presentation. I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you, but I wanted to at least share it with you so that in order to prepare for the discussion post, I would encourage you to take a look at Robert Pedraza's directed and constructivist teaching model. I think it's very straightforward, very clear, articulate, is a great approach to comparing and contrasting that direct instruction to a constructivist model. I thought another model to take a look at was discovery learning. There's a couple of links here to some samples that I thought were good for that. And then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the foundations of effective technology integration has to do with this direct instruction constructionist model, but it also has to do with technology integration planning. How do we plan? What should you use as you start to plan to integrate technology within your classroom? And I thought this was a great approach that this author shared in regards to this particular prezi, how to move through this technology model. Question, Brandon? Oh, for someone out there, someone turn a microphone on. Maybe not. I'm just getting older and hearing beeps all over the place. And so this is a great overview of the technology integration model. You need to analyze your learning and teaching needs. Again, these were very short conversations I had with my learners this week on an individual basis, but I wanted to know what are you teaching over the next 4 weeks? If you're going to have to integrate something into your instruction, I don't want you to change your unit plan or your lesson plans, but I need you to think about the learning and teaching needs that you're going to have over the next few weeks in your class. Determine the relative advantage. Today I visited with one and she said, we're really working a lot with Canvas. Well, the relative advantage is not to try something additional than that. Kill two birds with one stone and determine the relative advantage of what you're going to be doing in Canvas. We talked a little about tech pack in our last class about what's my content knowledge, what's my instructional or pedagogy knowledge, and what's my knowledge of technology, and how do those interact together. And anyway, then phase two is planning for the integration. As I visited with my learners, I said, you've got to have an integration plan. What's that going to be? When you put that together in week 11, what's your plan for integrating these components? And then deciding on objectives and assessments. What are you going to do within that integration plan? Design how you're going to strategize or put that in. Collaborate with your technology specialist in your school or district. Prepare the instructional environment. Get your students ready for that. And then at the end, there's got to be a revision, analysis, what went well, what am I never going to do again in regards to this particular technology approach. Anyway, I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you here. I just wanted to let you know that that's a great approach to help you with that, moving through that technology integration planning approach as a foundation for effective technology integration. And then the last link that I wanted to share with you here as far as this effective technology integration are the essential conditions for technology integration. We really go to ISTE to be able to conceptualize these essential conditions that you have in putting together a technology integration plan. All of these do not have to be a part of your discussion or your response to your discussion. I just wanted you to have some materials that you could at least review and skim and scan as you moved forward. That being said, before we move to our elements from the Marzano text presentation, I just wanted to stop sharing here for just a moment. Unmute me, stop sharing, reach out and say questions, concerns. Let me feel like that lady in the commercial, help, I've fallen down, I can't get up, help, I've started talking, I can't stop. And I'm sorry for that, but hopefully you've got something worthwhile from all of that. Questions, concerns, issues, heartburn, anything that I can help you with before we go to some of these presentations. Well, thank you so very much. Let me come back. Let me come back and share one more time here. Let me see this. Yep. Let me share my content, and we'll get started with our presentations. Now, Brandon, you got to help me out here. If I click on these links, they're absolutely going to be able to see these first four are recorded. They're going to be able to see them. Are they going to be able to hear if I'm sharing my screen?
They should, if your volume is up.
Okay, I hope my volume's up.
Carol did it last week, or Carol may have to help us out.
Okay, well, I'm going to start here with Annette and Sarah with element number 6. Brandon, help me out. If you can't hear it, you shout out to me and I'll turn up my volume, okay?
Don't hear anything yet, Tony.
Can't hear? Okay,
No.
1 sec. I apologize. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me stop sharing for just unmute myself. Too many darn buttons here. Give me just one moment to work on my audio. My microphone's all up. My built-in output is now all the way to the top. Anything else I should switch, Justin? Or excuse me, Brandon?
Is the coming out of your external or your speakers or your headphones?
Oh, it's coming out of my headphones, so I got to unplug my headphones. I apologize, guys. See, I'm learning too. I'm a lifelong learner here. And let me try that, and we will go again, okay? Give me just a moment.
Much information. given to them within the various subjects that they take at school every day, it's important for them to gain those skills on how to identify what material is most critical so that they can master the learning targets that the teacher has created. And so in order to do that, the book gives 3 strategies that will help. It says on page 48, when introducing new materials to students, it is critical for the teacher to identify and cue students about what information is most critical to their mastery of the learning goal. So obviously the students need help gaining this skill. So these strategies will include identifying critical input experiences, visual activities, and pause time. So identifying critical input experiences, the teacher, in the book it says it is most important for the teacher to clearly identify which segments of content are most critical to achieving the learning goal. So again, the teacher needs to help the students or guide the students in gaining the skill. So the learning experience should include a few things. First, it should be limited to 2 or 3 pieces of critical information. We don't want to overwhelm our students. It should also be established by multisensory routines. So that includes auditory cues, visual cues, and so forth. So like a trumpet, a bell, a flashing picture. Those are examples. And also, because we're trying to teach our students 21st century skills and technology is integrated within those skills, it's important to use technological software to help integrate those skills in our students. Also, these learning experiences should alert students when something is coming so that students have time to make sure that they're focusing, make sure that they know that it's a good time to take notes and so forth. After the presentation or lesson has been given, students can rate themselves with an assessment tool. The book gives a 4-point scale as an example, and it also gives the teacher feedback on how well the students understood the content or those critical points, and then he or she can go back and modify the teaching.
The second strategy is visual activities. This strategy is all about stimulating students' visual and auditory senses to increase their engagement and ideally also their level of understanding. For most of us, this strategy is something that we just do naturally. We live in a media-saturated environment. It's honestly difficult to remember teaching when it was just a listening-only experience. And now media is so easy to find and use. The real difficulty for us is culling through the available media to find what is most effective rather than things that are just distracting. The types of visual media that could count for this visual activities include images, videos, presentation software, and visual cueing. This could include very varied things like highlighting text and presentation, slowly revealing content, kind of builds excitement and shows students where to focus during your presentation, and then using consistent formatting patterns and presentations in any online or visual materials. That one's kind of near and dear to my heart. I am the tech director and curriculum director for an online high school, and so I oversee all of the instructional design, and I'm very particular about how we do format all of our materials. And when I have teachers kind of give me a hard time and make fun of me for being a little picky about what things look like, I do pull out research such as this to show how visual cueing, providing students with consistent patterns so they can recognize what's important and what's not a little more easily, that the research really does back it up as far as in teaching. Other types of visual cueing can include graphic organizers, flowcharts, and interactive whiteboards. The last strategy we will cover under the identifying critical information element is pause time. All pause time is giving students time to reflect on the content prior to them responding or the teacher moving on to additional or new content. This pause time allows students to, it gives them the space to connect this new information to the past knowledge. Teachers today can leverage technology by, to incorporate pause time by using polling features to help pace their presentations and also countdown clocks.
And I've got to say, I have not given you very much pause time, but you, as you're watching this, you can certainly, come on, there we go. As you're watching this, you can certainly stop it and send me an email and say, Tony, what the heck did you mean by this? And I'd be happy to share that. Annette, Sarah, thank you so very much for your presentation. Let's go next to Brent. Brent shared with us this presentation. And I have given Brent the wrong link. Brent, are you up there? May not be here today. I may have to send, I put the wrong link in for Brent, so please forgive me, Brent.
One he sent me, Tony.
Do you have what he sent you?
Yes.
I'm going to
start with 8, and I'll find 7.
We do find 7, and then we're going to go on to 8.
We're going to do it, yeah, but I'll find 7. He sent it to me too.
Thank you so very much. Truth is stranger than fiction.
Hi, my name's Kristen Johnson, and Heather and I will be talking about Element 8, previewing new content. And the whole idea with this is just to have students link prior knowledge to the new content that we're teaching them. So we just need to be showing them what they're going to be learning and helping them make connections. Our first idea is to preview questions. So we need to highlight the most important information. We need to guide the students to know what they should be listening for. So we can ask questions and help them activate that prior knowledge. And in doing that, we will help them make connections with that new content. We can use technology to preview questions using online survey tools like SurveyMonkey and creating questions to stimulate that background knowledge and preview the new content. Polling can draw out the misconceptions and the understandings of our students before we even start. And we can also display the results without the correct answers so they can spark their own discussion. We can also use digitized primary source documents like audio files and video and images and text files. We can also compare and contrast video. Skimming is the second one, and teachers can model skimming, walking students through just glancing at the headings and the subheadings and the pictures and helping them to infer what the reading will be about, and then also help them summarize, make predictions, formulate questions, all those things to help them know what the most important parts are. Technology can be used with skimming by using presentation tools like Prezi or Google Drive. I know there's quite a few others, but those were some examples. And we can stop to point out the major topics and how they relate back to those learning goals so they know what is most important. I think most of you are familiar with this third one. It's the KWL chart. So the K, what I already know, and the W, what I want to find out. And then the L, we save for after we teach the new content. And then that is what I learned. And then this can also be individualized. Technology can be used with our KWL charts by using interactive versions. And we can add textual elements and pictures and images. We can add hyperlinks to supporting information. We can also have students suggest elements for the chart with their clickers or with mobile devices using that polling software.
All right, give me just 1 second. Kristen did that first part, and then Heather had her section that she wanted to hear, Ed, regarding
The
reviewing.
fourth element of previewing new content is using an advanced organizer. This strategy involves giving students a blank graphic organizer that they would begin to fill out as they're introduced to the new material. This will help them organize it, see how things go together, make the content a little more digestible, and also help them connect to previous content they've learned, much like a KWL chart that Christian mentioned earlier. In this example, I've taken a graphic of the water cycle, but taken out the labels to allow space for students to write their own explanations of the new content. You could then use technology to introduce the water cycle, such as Prezi or maybe a hyperdoc that would allow students to explore the concept interactively. Anticipation guides can be a great way to capture students' interest and also activate their background knowledge on the topic. Teachers could provide students with a list of different statements that they would then either have to respond to or perhaps vote whether they agree or disagree with it. This can then be a springboard for a whole class discussion. Technology like clickers or interactive polling software take this one step further by allowing students to not only express their own opinions, but also see how their classmates voted. Apps can also make it easy for teachers to select students at random to make sure that everyone's participating in the discussion. Some classroom management software packages like Class Dojo also include options like this. Presenting new vocabulary words that may be challenging is another way to preview new content. This could take the form of a vocabulary list that students are given, or maybe a whole class discussion where the teacher talks about how to categorize the new words, how they relate to each other, and maybe what students already know about them. Luckily, there are a lot of online options that will create these type of vocabulary lists for you, but in a much more graphically pleasing format. I've listed a few of my favorites here that are all free. For example, this is an article from World Book Online about butterflies. You can tell the words that are used most often because they're larger. This can be a great way of introducing new vocabulary in a fun format to students. These are just a few ways you can use technology to help students preview new content.
Thank you, Heather. Appreciate that. Brandon, any luck with element 7?
Yep, it's on there.
It is there now.
If I changed it.
Thank you. Thanks for coming to my rescue, Brandon.
Hello. I'm here to talk about organizing students to interact with new knowledge. This is a slideshow and a video by me, Brent Allred. So moving on. So there's kind of like two big things that are discussed here. One is grouping for active processing, and one is job cards. The grouping for active processing definitely has, the bulk of what's going on here. So one thing we got to make sure it happens before we do any sort of like grouping is like set clear expectations. I think anyone who's ever tried group work in their classroom probably knows that that's definitely the case. Set clear expectations. Let students know what the goals are and kind of like what behaviors are and are not accepted. And I think if expectations are clear and agreed upon, then life just goes like pretty smooth when it comes to group work, So we're suggested that like maybe we can randomly assign students using TeamMaker. They capitalized, so I kind of thought that it was something we should like a very specific thing. So I actually I gave it a Google. I looked up what TeamMaker is, and I couldn't find anything super specific, but I did see a lot of like really, super convenient team builder stuff. A lot of like, it doesn't seem like anything like really name branding, just like something anyone made up. You could do it the same thing with Excel, or I think even like PowerSchool kind of has like some sort of thing like that. I actually don't know what PowerSchool does, but my old, SIS thing did. So anyway, it doesn't really matter. It'd be pretty easy to randomly make assignments. Or you could sort based on understanding and like super honest. That's probably what I do, and I try to actually kind of like hide it within the guise of like randomly, like, oh, so yeah, maybe this person, oh, and this person, but I really do know who I'm assigning with who for the most part. A lot of times at the beginning of the year, I like to just like kind of let them pick their own teams and just see how those work. And sometimes it works pretty well. And that's kind of like a little bit random and a little bit by skill because kids like I don't know kind of seem to sort themselves based on like similarities. It's not very often you have one super high achieving student who's best friends with someone who like could care less. So that's it. Benefits, like there are obviously a lot of benefits for grouping for active understanding. The main one is, let students see the way their peers process learning and new knowledge, and maybe they can explain it in new ways, or just like, oh yeah, okay, I didn't see that. I think like collaboration is always really, really good, but seeing like, cognitively, there's lots of ways to approach something. So we're also talking about taking notes collectively. There's kind of like, you could do it on Google Drive. We take notes on Notability in my school like pretty frequently, but I don't really know that we share them. But it's still like digital notes, and you can even like do things like post things to Pinterest. And also you can post questions and share resources, like I said, on Pinterest, or like to a message board or something like that. So job cards. So the other half of this, job cards are basically like you would think, you can put someone into a group and you hand out cards saying like, hey, this is your job. This is what you're expected to do. So there's a few things that are suggested to record or summarize or questionnaire. I think basically anyone who's really tried anything with job cards probably has something similar or different. I don't know. A lot of the time when I do job cards or have to hand out titles, again, like set out clear expectations regarding what each job is supposed to do. And I like to have like, a leader and stuff like that. So with the job cards, they kind of recommended like a random number generator to assign who gets what job. I kind of think that, kind of like my take on this is, I don't know, like kind of what I said before. I try to make it look random without really being random. I'm okay with some randomness going on, but like when I'm picking the leaders of something, I really try to. Sorry, there's like a weird technical thing going on there. So yeah, try to make it random without really being random. Pick the leader, and then whoever has like the job of taking notes, doesn't really matter from then on. Whoever has the job of like being the questioner or like the assistant or anything like that, it doesn't really matter. But when I pick the bang jobs, it's kind of random, but mostly not. Then I don't know. So that's it, and I am done.
We appreciate you, Brent. Thanks so very much for sharing. Brandon, would you be willing to, or let me stop sharing here. And would you be willing to allow Courtney to be able to present? She's live today, and we'd like to turn the time over to her.
Yeah, let me find her.
Thank you so much.
Her name here on my list. Oh. All right, where's presenter? Okay, Courtney, you should get the mantle right here.
Hey, is my screen shared?
If you
have
have
to click?
go down to the bottom of there'll be some pop-ups that come up at the bottom of your screen. The little arrow pointing up.
Oh, that's how I share?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's your screen.
Okay, so Joyce has been texting me and said she couldn't get the sound to work, and I don't see her in there. But she's supposed to be presenting the first half.
She's here actually. She said she thinks she got it figured out.
Okay, so she's up.
Okay, let me.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, yay. All right.
That.
Whew. Okay, I'm starting. So we'll start with chunking content into digestible bites. Just the whole concept is when we are teaching, rather than overwhelming them with everything, we can break it up. But when you break it up, make sure that it makes sense. So just presenting with the small chunks, and then and after that, you can also use the data. So I can't get into Google, but I'm ready for the next one, Courtney.
Help me. You're good.
All right. So when you're presenting, I had said you want it to, go together and to make sense. So you have your declarative knowledge, and so that's things like easier to memorize things, easier to recall and repeat. So like your facts or your rules, if you're going to do that in chunks, you want to make sure that everything fits together. And the procedural knowledge is knowing how to do something, right? Like, so you don't really know how to ride a bike until you do it yourself. And so as you present procedural knowledge, you need to do that in steps. Okay, ready for the next one? All right, so you can also use digital tools to present this. So, so I have the interactive whiteboard, Google, and Prezi are some great ways to present. You can use organizers, images, photos, all kinds of things to help the kids focus, and you can also use multiple senses. So all of our students learn in different ways. Some learn, by touch, kinetically. Some are better orally. Some are better visually. And so when you use these different tools, you're able to access all of the different ways that your students learn. I think there's one more, Courtney. All right, so more technology ideas for chunking. You're going to use visual prompts, such as drawings or diagrams or diagrams or photographs. And again, this just helps the students focus. It helps engage them, and it helps the different types of learners. And make sure that when you are doing this chunking, that you're, again, like I said before, you're making sure it's in a consistent order, and then if it's procedural, make sure it's in the right process.
I think I have one more.
Oh, I do have one more. Okay, so this is just, if you're going to present using technology, please preview it first. Make sure that things are working, and that it's appropriate for the kids to view. And then that chunking is a great way to help the children learn a new concept just in bite-sized pieces. Thanks.
All right, so my part, we're talking about chunking. My section just says that you need to use pre-assessment. That way you know what you need to chunk and what you don't need to chunk. So for example, if a class has high scores on a pre-assessment, they've probably got it. You don't need to chunk it into smaller pieces. If they have smaller scores on the pre-assessment, then you know what you need to split into smaller chunks. So the technology part was using an online pre-assessment, because it usually grades it for you, and you're not spending all that extra time grading a pre-assessment just to create the chunking. So I have an example here of what I do. I gave a pre-assessment on Khan Academy. I teach math, and we'll see if it opens. So my students had to graph a line, and Khan Academy grades this for me. I don't have to do anything. But if they can graph this line, then I don't have to spend a lot of time on graphing. I can just move forward. But there's some classes that really needed the extra help on this, so then I chunk the lessons to include more graphing practice. So the point is, use technology to get that pre-assessment, and it's going to help you chunk using what Joyce talked about. And that's it. That's our presentation.
That's wonderful. Brandon, would you be willing to make me presenter again? And I think, Courtney, can you stop sharing your screen? Up near the top, there might be a
Oh, there it is. Okay.
Thanks so much. Hey, wonderful. Guys, thank you so very much for what wonderful work you've done. And it's great to hear, to see your connections. Thank you very, very much. Just wanted to prepare a little bit for next week to make you aware that we're going to be, the elements we're going to be addressing, 10, 11, 12, 13. And Stephanie, Christine, Jill, Amy, Kalani, Heather, Cole, and Miriam, you're up next week, so be prepared and do as well as these learners did today. Just to wrap up today, would you please go back to that polleverywhere.com link for just a moment, pollev.com. Let me share my screen with you. Oh, that's not the one. Give me just a second. And what I'd like you to do at pollev.com/Tony Pelle, will you give me one takeaway that you garnered from today's seminar? Something that you maybe you're not going to put into practice tomorrow, but that you're going to think about tonight, and maybe incorporate in your activities or your lessons during your instruction. I can't believe Tony's giving any wait time. Always preview it. Wonderful. Pre-assessments help to inform what I chunk. Very good. And great examples, Courtney. I love the graphing. The countdown clock, excellent. They'll respond to it. Wonderful. Thanks. I love those elements too. I think they're just absolutely great. Countdown clock. It looks like it's the winner today. Technology to help simplify the countdown clock. Wonderful. Good. I appreciate this. This really helps, again, too, us to make formative assessments of where we need to go, what we need to do, and that you're connecting with the content. I appreciate it. Brandon, let me stop. I'm going to stop sharing here because it's kind of near the end. Carol, Brandon, any last minute words? Brandon, anything else for next week that you want to share with them?
No, just come ready, and thanks for being here, everybody. It's great having live participation. We know that everyone can't be here, but we appreciate those who do spend a little time with us on Thursday afternoon. So thank you.
Thank you, Brandon. I think I'm set. I'm done. If you have questions for me, don't hesitate to reach out, guys. See you soon.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, Tony, are you still on?
I am still on. Who is this?
This is Carol.
Carol, I'm all yours. Go ahead.